What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, Zagnomics Gaming. Today we are covering Randy's throwing knife. It is finally returned to us inside of season 21. It was first available as a ritual weapon inside of season 8, and although these ritual weapons are not as powerful as like the likes of Not Forgotten, Luna's Howl, or anything like that, it was still a phenomenal weapon back in season 8, and I'm glad to see it return. I used to play with it a lot, and in case you guys didn't know, I really love the 260 round per minute scout rifles. They're probably my favorite, even though they lack a little bit as far as the TTK goes and the range itself, but it is overall a fantastic weapon and I absolutely love it. Now, if you watch my previous video, Graviton Lance review, I feel like Randy's throwing knife actually overthrows it in a sense. It's a good weapon to actually counter Graviton Lance. So definitely stay tuned, you guys. We will be going over the roles and traits as well as a review for this weapon. As you can see in the background gameplay, the range is not the best when it comes to these long range shootouts. Like as you see in the background gameplay, the opponent, he's very far away and I can't really get him too well, but this weapon is phenomenal and it just peppers you to death. And it's kind of hard to really counter a weapon like this up close. Now, first and foremost, for this video, I do want to say that I am playing a lot more passively, and that mainly is in regard to the role that I'm actually using. For that final trait column, I am using box breathing. I did get a role that came with box breathing, so I decided to try it out. It wasn't my first pick, but it does have a substantial increase in damage. That's free. All you have to do is aim down sights, so you will see me in this background gameplay playing that way. Now, as we jump into the roles here, there are a lot of great combinations, and I do want to recommend that, you know, playing the Crucible, you don't have to kill yourself trying to get a good role, because after you do your rank resets throughout the season, you will actually unlock up to 3 perks in each column at one time for each role. It's pretty consistent. You've probably seen it in the past with Riptide and all the other Crucible weapons. It will be no different with Randy's throwing knife. So once you do a rank reset, like your second one, you will actually get access to have your weapon drop with 2 perks in each column. So that's very beneficial and it makes it easier to actually obtaining the God roll. Now, you won't get the same treatment for your barrel perks or your mag perks, but you will get that for your standard perks. So you could roll one roll with like perpetual motion and rapid hit, and you can actually cycle between the two and use which one you prefer. Now, that does make it a lot easier to hunt for the God roll. So right now I really wouldn't stress it too much since it's so early on in the season to actually be going out trying to bust your butt and get the God roll for this weapon. Now, there are plenty of different options. I do recommend that you save quite a few of them. I would also argue that this is going to be a good PVE scout rifle, especially if you did not get hung jury, because at the bottom right you can see that we do have kinetic tremors. So this will be phenomenal with how fast it fires. You'll be able to get that off very quickly to get that AoE damage. Now, going into the specific perks here, for PVE, I actually recommend Arrowhead Break. And as well as PvP. Arrowhead Break just works very well with this weapon, especially since the recoil is not that great right now with this weapon at all. It does have a 59, so it veers off to the right very heavily, so I definitely recommend running a counterbalance stock as well as having Arrowhead Break. That's going to help bring that recoil in line and make it much more manageable and vertical. So if you see, you know, if you got too many opponents way off in the distance, it's going to hop around a lot on you, and you definitely don't want to have to deal with any of that. Now, for the mag perk for PvE, I'm actually going to go with Appended Mag, because you do get a +2 in mag size, and you are definitely going to want more rounds in your magazine, especially if you're going with like kinetic tremors or possibly cascade point, whatever flavor you're trying to really use this weapon for. You want to have as many rounds as possible. I don't see the need for ricochet rounds or high caliber rounds or even armor piercing rounds for this inside of PvE. Now, for that third trait column, there are multiple traits that you could use here. We do have Pugilist, which final blows with this weapon generate melee energy. So if you're playing on Titan and you're using throwing hammers, you can use your melee charge to actually become radiant when you're throwing your hammer. So there could be a play there for that. There's also well-rounded. So throwing a grenade or hitting a target with a charged melee grants a stacking bonus to weapon stability, handling, and range. I feel like this perk kind of needs a little bit more help to actually bring it up to the other top competitors like Zen Moment, Rapid Hit, or Perpetual Motion. But we do have some perks here that will help us align as far as making a build. So you also have Under Over, which basically states deals bonus damage to targets with overshields, deals a small amount of bonus damage to combatant shields. So it's something. Obviously, the three main perks in this column are going to be Zen Moment, which causing damage with this weapon reduces recoil and flinch over time, which that's mainly a PvP perk. But we also have Rapid Hit, which works very well in PvE and PvP, which is why this is the perk that I'm going to go with for PvE. And it basically states rapid precision hits temporarily increase stability and reload speed. Grants 1 stack of rapid hit per precision hit, improving reload speed and stability for 2 seconds. Now you can always have this proc in PvE, especially in the harder content. We know that scout rifles are pretty much the go-to with a lot of higher end content as far as like the Grandmaster Nightfalls and everything like that. So you will always be doing precision damage in some aspect of that strike. So this is a phenomenal perk to have, especially since you can increase your reload speed. And then in that final trait column, you see we have kinetic tremors. If you can get that reload speed up and you're always at a ×5, you will be booming. You will always have kinetic tremors proccing on a regular basis, and that will obviously create more AoE damage for whatever type of activity that you're doing. So for that third trait column, for me, I'm going to go with Rapid Hit inside of PvE. Now for this final trait column, we have a ton of perks. We do have Kill Clip, which isn't very well utilized inside of PvE, so I don't recommend that. Rampage is pretty good. That will work well on lower tier stuff, but it just really depends on what you're doing. So if you are grinding for this weapon for like a Grandmaster, then I don't recommend trying to go for Rampage. I would recommend, honestly, Kinetic Tremors is the best perk in this whole column for PvE and that higher end content, just because you do have that Kinetic Tremors, you know, AoE effect. Now we do have Adaptive Munitions, which I feel like is a phenomenal perk. I feel like it is almost an S tier perk. Now Adaptive Munitions for scout rifles, you do get 166% more damage per hit, and it maxes out at that 500%, so it really chews through those shields very quickly. And I think this is a phenomenal perk inside of PvE. Now, but for me, I am going to go with Kinetic Tremors just because I don't really grind strikes too much. I don't really play content like that. The only strikes that I really do are Grandmasters. And in Grandmaster Nightfalls, that AoE effect that Kinetic Tremors has to offer outweighs the rest of these perks in this column. And, you know, you can make other stuff work. But for me, in my playstyle, I like Kinetic Tremors for this. Now, there is box breathing, and you do get a substantial increase in weapon damage with box breathing, but you got to remember it's only for one shot. So for me, I don't recommend using box breathing inside of PvE. For me, for my last trait column, I will go for either Adaptive Munitions or Kinetic Tremors. That will be the last two. And of course, for my masterwork, I am looking for a range masterwork. And then for my mod, I will use a counterbalance stock mod. And when you pair the counterbalance mod with Arrowhead Break, you do get 100 recoil direction, so it's straight up. It's perfect. It doesn't veer off to the left or to the right. Now jumping into PvP. So for PvP, my barrel perk is pretty much going to stay the same with Arrowhead Break as well as my mod. I am going to keep the counterbalance stock mod, so that does give me 100, just like I previously stated. And then in that second column, I'm actually going to go with either ricochet rounds or high caliber rounds. I like ricochet rounds just a little bit more just because it does give you that +10 in stability, but I won't say that you absolutely need it. You can work around it. Now for that third trait column, we do have 3 heavy hitters, which is Zen Moment. It works pretty good. Rapid Hit is okay. I'm not going to say it's bad. It is very good, but I like perpetual motion just because you get those benefits and all you have to do is pretty much just run around. You can always stay at ×2, and that does give you plus 20 in stability, plus 20 in handling, and plus 20 in reload speed, and you don't have to do anything. With rapid hit, you got to get 5 precision hits to get the maximum benefits of that perk. And then with Zen Moment, of course, you have to cause damage with your weapon and it reduces recoil. Well, if I'm already at 100 recoil, I really don't need Zen Moment. At that point, it just helps me with flinch. So for me, for that third trait column, I'm going to go with perpetual motion because all I got to do is run around in circles and I will reap the benefits of that perk. Now for my final trait column, we have a ton of options. We do have snapshot sights, which was on the original version of this weapon, and so was kill clip. But for me, I have been using box breathing quite a lot, and that's what I've been using in the background gameplay. And you do have to play a little bit more passively, but it does give you that 0.7 time to kill, and all you have to do is aim down sights. So you always have this damage buff as long as you aim down sights. You do get that damage bonus for one shot only, and then from there, you know, it will scale back down to its normal shot range. And basically, box breathing states aiming this weapon for a short period without firing grants bonus range and precision damage that resets after firing or exiting zoom. And pretty much after 1.5 seconds of aiming down sights, you will get a plus 10 to aim assist. So as you can see, box breathing is very strong. You don't have to do anything. You do get the bonus to range and the bonus to damage when all you have to do is aim down sights. And that's pretty much what you have seen in this background gameplay. All I've been playing with was box breathing. That's why I've been playing a lot more passively with this gameplay, because I've have to aim down sights to actually get the increase in damage that I'm looking for. And it works very well. You do have to be very mindful of your surroundings, especially since you're always aiming down sights, but that bonus in damage is amazing. It does hit for plus 71 per crit as opposed to the 47 per crit that it normally fires, and it really just knocks that TTK down from 1 second to 0.7 seconds at max resilience. So it isn't nothing to play with. It is a very fun weapon and very fun perk to actually utilize inside of PvP. Now, although I love box breathing, we do have some other perks here. We also have Swashbuckler. We have Encore, which is very good right now, and it states final blows grant a stacking stability, range, and accuracy bonus to this weapon. Precision final blows grant more stacks. And you may have seen that I did recommend this perk with the Adept Buzzard, and I also had some gameplay of it. It is a great perk as well, but you got to get kills to actually make that work. Rampage, it's a great perk as well. You do get the increase in damage at ×3. You're looking at an extra 33% damage, but you got to get kills to make it work. Kill clip, it's the same way, but you got to get kills to make it work. So with box breathing, you are getting the same TTK that kill clip can offer you, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to get any kills. All you have to do is aim down sights. So for me, that final trait column, I'm going to recommend box breathing all day long. You do have to play a little bit slower, but once you get the pattern down and the maps, especially the maps that we have now, we have huge maps. It's not like before. You know, granted, you do only get that bonus for one shot, but you get it back so quickly. I mean, it's just 1 second. Just aim down sights. You can see it continuously refreshing in my background screen, and you will always have that damage bonus. Now, a lot of people are going to say, hey, why don't you go for kill clip? Kill clip has the same time to kill as box breathing. So for me, it's not recommended because you have to get a kill to even get it to work, whereas box breathing, I don't. And I get a bonus to range. Now, with Rampage, I'm sure you're wondering as well, what do you get? At Rampage ×3, you're looking at a 0.7 time to kill at max resilience. Now, if you're looking at a tier 1 or under, you're looking at a 0.4. But I digress. It's going to be very hard to actually get 3 stacks of Rampage and go against a tier 1 resilience guardian inside of PvP. It's just unheard of, especially now. I don't recommend even trying to, you know, go that route. I would definitely stick with box breathing. Now, the only other perk for PvP that can actually beat out box breathing is Cascade Point. but it requires a ton of setup inside of PvP. But if you can get it down, you will be looking at a 0.5 time to kill, and that is very fast. You are cooking. But like I said, you do have to get kills with other weapons to proc it, and bows and shotguns. Bows would probably be the easiest route, especially with Trinity Ghoul. So if you use Trinity Ghoul, as you may know, it does have 3 arrows. So if you hit all 3 arrows, you proc Cascade Point immediately, and that allows for the quickest fire in the game. Well, with this associated weapon, of course, but that does give you a 0.5 time to kill, and that's all it does. It just ramps up the fire rate of your weapon. But I digress. I'd rather have a damage dealing perk. Also too, Cascade Point will change how the weapon feels as far as recoil and everything else, just because you are altering the fire mode, so it's not quite the same. If you watch my Graviton Lance video, you would notice that, because they increased the fire rate for that weapon, Bungie did, and the recoil pattern is not quite the same as it used to be before. Now for a fast recap for PvP, you're looking for Arrowhead Break, Ricochet Rounds, Perpetual Motion, just because all you gotta do is run around to get those bonuses. And then for that final trait column, I like Box Breathing. It's a free damage bonus. It gives you a 0.7 time to kill, and all you have to do is aim down sights, play a little passive, and you're cooking. For that Masterwork, I definitely would recommend Range Masterwork. Now for PVE, you're gonna look for Arrowhead Break, Appended Mag to get that +2. And then for the third trait column, you're going to look at Rapid Hit. And then for that final trait column, you're going to go with either Kinetic Tremors, or depending on what you're playing, Adapted Munitions, as well as Rampage. So if you're playing lower tier content, you're going to be looking for Rampage. If you're playing that higher tier content, I really recommend you guys grind for a roll with Adaptive Munitions as well as Kinetic Tremors. Adaptive Munitions is underrated, guys. You really need to try it out. It chews through a lot of those shields like it's nothing. And that's if you're playing higher tier content like Grandmasters and stuff like that. Now if you're playing lower tier content, you can go for Rampage. I don't recommend going for Box Breathing, just because you only get that higher damage boost for 1 shot. As far as the other perks go, I would just throw them away. Don't even waste your time on them. Now I did want to reiterate in this second half of the video, you don't have to bust your butt trying to grind for one of these roles right now. As you reset your rank with Lord Shaxx, you will acquire more perks on each role that you get. So it could be at random. You may get only 1 perk, and then from there you could get 2 in those final columns, or I've gotten instances where I've gotten 3 perks in those final columns. So definitely take a look at those and really just try to work on resetting your rank. So I really wouldn't get too hung up on actually trying to grind for a god roll at this point, but if you come across one, you know, you never know, you may get lucky. Now, if you enjoyed this video, consider liking the video and also subscribing to my channel. I will have some more videos out in the coming weeks. I know I'm a little behind on the Season of the Deep. I'm currently working on the dungeon right now. We have a ton of weapons to go over this season, so be on the lookout for those videos if you are hunting god rolls of any one of the weapons that I display here on the channel. Now, usually if a weapon sucks, I do not make a video about it, but that may change in the future. If it's really trash, I will make a video about it and let you guys know, instead of you guys wasting your time or countless hours grinding for weapons that don't even matter. But nonetheless, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next video.